So I guess to bring us up to speed with what's happening in this clip, David Menzies is going to be talking to a ex-conservative candidate. They were ex even before the election happened a couple weeks ago. And I guess it was a few days before the election actually was held that the Conservative Party decided they weren't going to let this person they wanted the person to suspend their campaign, but when you suspend and they wanted them to suspend their campaign for a week, even though the election was in a few days, right? Which it essentially just means that your campaign's done. We don't want you to be a part of the party anymore. And of course, what do you do then? If you're a conservative and the Conservative Party is poo-pooing you in some way, the first thing you do is run to Rebel News. And this always strikes me as silly, because if you're trying to avoid accusations of you being a racist, and being like, I'm not racist, if your first instinct is to avoid all other media sources and go straight to like a racist news channel, that doesn't really indicate that you have an upstanding character. Okay, that tells me that it's likely now you're going to grift hard right after these uh, after these accusations have arisen. So we're going to watch this piece. David Menzies is going to interview this candidate. I forget her name. She's so forgettable. But we're going to then assess to what extent we think these social media remarks, I will say, is what this is from, but we'll assess the racist content of these tweets and to what extent it should have ended her campaign. So here we go.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. Well, I'm in the riding of Beaches, East York, and I'm with Lisa Robinson, who is, or rather was, the Conservative candidate for this riding until something very, very ugly indeed happened on Friday. You see, Lisa is no longer the candidate for this riding because allegations of social media postings arose. But here's the twist, folks. These postings are evidently falsified. And with more on this story is Lisa herself. So Lisa.
So yeah, Lisa, we'll get to it in a second. I will say, aside from that being a common talking point, person with weird name in the chat, I will say this isn't just about somebody disagreeing. We will get to the tweets, okay? And of course, this isn't democratic, non-democratic. We'll get to see where these accusations come from and all that fun stuff. He's wearing his serious hat for this segment.
It's a very serious hat.
It is a very...
That's that fucking Al Capone ready to fucking gun someone down. He's ready. He's got it.
Can't you also hear, like, in the tone of his voice? Like, even the tone of his voice is very, like, it is so sad what has happened to this poor candidate, right?
Yeah, he doesn't fucking believe it either. He doesn't believe this shit. Well, I was hacked. All right.
Well, I mean, we're going to get to whatever defense she might have in this clip, but yeah, we'll get to it.
On Friday,
but I wanted to add with that, like, because like his tone, I think where the tone is coming from, there's a sense in which I feel like they live for this moment, because whenever, so we had Derek Sloan, there was that new guy, the Rick guy from Chatham, who was the Ontario progressive conservative guy who refused to get vaccinated, Hillier, all the other people who have, or the Halios person from Cambridge, all of those people, when they've left the Conservative Party, they always go to Rebel. So it's like, even if this person is the most flaming racist there is, they live for this moment because they're like, finally, the politicians will talk to us. Oh, thankfully, the politicians have let us into their inner circle, finally. So they live for this moment.
Friday, just before the weekend, the news broke that you had made very offensive social media contributions. This is something that goes back years ago. You told me you tried to...
Just social media contributions. every time I tweet, it's a contribution to social media.
Address it with the police years ago. What exactly happened?
Yes, thank you very much, David, for having me here today, first of all. Friday morning, I had got a phone call from the Conservative Party, and they told me that my opponent from the Liberal Party had posted something very disturbing, and they sent me a copy of it. Immediately, they had asked me about it, and I said this was done back in 2017.
So let's again, she's just telling the background drama. But let's look at what we got here. So we have Nate Erskine Smith, who I believe was actually I'm not sure who they are. I don't think this is a candidate. Anyways, we got a quote here. Our Ward 1 City Councilor candidate is none other than Lisa Robinson, the Conservative candidate in Beaches, East York. Yes, I believe Nate was a candidate in the last. So it goes, our community has faced down hate too many times already, and it's unacceptable that the Conservative Party is giving a platform to someone with these views. And so far, what we can make out with some of these tweets is we get Muslims go home if our Canadian heritage offends you so much. Bring back the Lord's Prayer in schools too, and it's called Christmas. And then we have something about execute 10 imams sympathetic to ISIS for every one of our countrymen killed in a terror attack, but society is too busy mourning to do that. So what we're getting so far, and there's apparently her retweeting a Lauren Southern tweet that is making fun of the LGBTQ stuff. Okay? Now these tweets are from 2017 when she was running as a city councilor. Apparently. Okay, we'll get to her quasi-defenses in a second. But already, I want to say that they're pretty racist and pretty homophobic. You know? I think that's pretty uncontroversial. If these tweets are really hers, yeah, you're a terrible human being.
And I said this was done back in 2017, and at that time I was in the middle of running a municipal election. And during that municipal election, my opponent at that time had some people go and start digging through my Twitter account. So they went, and I guess what they had done was they had taken some of my real posts, and then they falsified some posts, and they kind of put it all together like a collage, and then they took Snapchats of it or whatever, and then they posted it to social media.
So she claims that they were falsified. And part of me wants to be like, I've looked into this. I see no evidence that they were falsified. I guess the part of the thing is she was running as ward councilor. This does seem to be from her Twitter account, and they were screen capped back in 2017. So there's also an element in which it's surprising that these are only being talked about now. Like the Conservatives didn't vet this candidate when these came out when she ran as a city councilor back in 2017. We already read that one. So she retweeted someone here. Retweeted someone named Blair Cottrell with, I think that looks like an Australian flag, saying society reacts always in a feminine way to terrorism. It cries and mourns and does nothing. A masculine approach would be to execute 10 imams sympathetic to ISIS for everyone. Oh, so she retweeted that. She didn't tweet it herself. She retweeted it. So what a lovely person. And I'm pretty sure Blair Cottrell, I think we've talked about him before. I'm almost certain the dude's a fascist. Let me type that up. I mean, based on the tweet alone, you could probably get a sense that he's a fascist. So yeah, according to Wikipedia, Blair Cottrell is an Australian far-right extremist, often described as a neo-Nazi. Okay. So she's retweeting neo-Nazis, also including Lauren Southern, who I think would fit into this camp as well. Cottrell has stated a desire to see a portrait of Adolf Hitler hung in Australian classrooms and for copies of Mein Kampf to be issued annually to students, as well as anti-Semitic and racist comments in support of Nazism. Well, great. What a great person. Wonderful. Oh, it was a municipal election? I get it now. Deleted tweet aside, I don't understand the square quotes around society. Because society's not real, man. Society. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if he's responding to someone. I don't know. Either way, this Lisa person was retweeting a neo-Nazi.
Yeah. So this is what has come up on his page first thing in the morning.
And Lisa, I think it's important.
Paul Frum? Oh
What
my
has
God.
come up
I didn't
on-
even see that one. Okay. So she retweeted Paul Frum, no neo-Nazi, who was retweeting Lauren Southern. And of course, Lauren Southern was making fun of the LGBT stuff. And then we got Paul Frum saying, parents in Durham region should march on the board and demand an end to this mind-bending shit. So great. You know, I also love that she's retweeting Manny Ottawa. So we got Manny Montenegrino, Rebel News regular. But I love nobody loves Manny Montenegrino. Totally neglected in this. All we care about is Paul Frum. Manny's a piece of shit too. I mean, I don't know if he's as bad as a Paul Frum, but he's still a piece of shit. And I hope I shouldn't have to go over Paul Frum. We've covered him several times on this previous Twitch streams. But yes, well-known Canadian neo-Nazi. He is in fact the reason why Derek Sloan is not a part of the Conservative Party anymore, because Derek Sloan received a donation from Paul.
On his page first thing in the morning.
And Lisa, I think it's important to note that when you became the Conservative candidate for Beaches East York, you were vetted. And I know part of that vetting, it means going through social media posts, everything that certainly the party doesn't want a candidate with any baggage that's going to dog them. So you passed their vetting.
They obviously did not vet good enough. And thank you, Muta, for gifting a sub. Very kind of you. Yeah, we questioned the vetting system for the Liberals too. I mean, they let in a whole bunch of like sexual abusers to run constantly. I think the worst. I can't remember, so I'm sorry if I like screw this up, but I only remember one NDP candidate being kicked out this recent election for reasons that we're at least on the edge that like we should have been concerned about, but I can understand why it didn't get picked up during vetting. It was some like random tweet that they made on like when they were 16, and it said at Oprah, is Auschwitz real? And that person ended up saying, I don't know why I tweeted that, and so apologies, and then decided that he was going to step down. You looking fly with that suit. Yeah, I mean, so that was the one anti-Semitic comment. I can't remember the other candidate who was dropped because of anti-Semitic comments. But I mean, but those, at least the one, and I think it was like Dan Colburn or something like this, and he was running from like the East Coast, something like that. But that I can understand why it wouldn't have caught vetting. But again, it's a little weird, since the parties vet their candidates, how running as a city councilor and having these tweets surface during your city councilor run and it being an issue, it is quite surprising that the Conservative Party, in their vetting process, did not discover those retweets and tweets that were already archived.
They stated to you on Friday, we've got your back, we're going to bat for you. And by Saturday, less than 24 hours later, the story changed, didn't it?
Oh, it was by Friday evening the story changed, actually.
Now, folks, I did reach out to Tanis Drysdale. She is with the Conservative Party of Canada and had direct dealings with Lisa Robinson regarding the forced resignation. Here's what Miss Drysdale had to say.
David Menzies speaking. Hello, oh, hi, Tanis. Thank you so much for getting back to me. Listen, I'm doing a story on Lisa Robinson. We interviewed her the other day for Rebel News, and I just wanted to reach out to get some official response from the Conservative Party. I understand you're the Director of Field Operations, and Lisa had mentioned your name. Basically, Lisa denies that she ever wrote the inflammatory tweets. It's something that goes back years ago. She had called the police about them. And what I'm just trying to understand is, how did something...
Did he say that she called the police about the inflammatory tweets being released?
Okay. I love this whole segment because I love that whatever she said, he cut her off
Yeah.
and spliced over
I know.
his explaining, no, she's saying things, but we actually called this other person to explain that Lisa called the police about her retweets because she just couldn't figure out how it happened. Make a new Twitter account. What are you doing?
Well, there's so much here that, you can't just make a new Twitter account because, again, these were archived back in 2017 when she made them. So, they've been in the ether for a while. It's just the thing that, if he was a real investigative reporter, the first thing that you would think about is, she claims that they're fake. Is there any evidence that they're fake? That would be the angle. But instead, he's not even willing to consider that they're real. Instead, he just calls up the Director of Field Operations for the Conservative Party of Canada, and they're like, "Why are you being mean to this person? They called the police about the tweets that they made over 5 years ago, 4 years ago." Years ago,
Called the police about them. And
Why?
what I'm just trying to understand is...
Dear police, I made a bunch of inflammatory tweets. I don't get it. Oh my god, I don't get it at all.
How did something change so rapidly? Lisa says the Conservative Party said that they had her back on this on a Friday morning, and then by Friday evening it was, "You have to resign." So
They
I'm
probably
just trying to
read the
understand what
tweets.
changed. Was it media pressure? Was it something else? Can you weigh in on that?
First of all, thank you for calling. It's very nice to meet you sort of in person on the phone. As you know, I'm the Director of Field Operations. I'm not the communications for the party. I'm wondering if you have their number to speak with them.
Oh, okay. I thought it would make sense just because I think you were dealing directly with Lisa Robinson, and there was a bizarre thing too that Lisa...
I love one thing that we've learned about David Menzies is they'll give him a direct response. Like, I'm not the person to deal with this. Here's a number where you can reach the people who are dealing with this. And David Menzies' response is, "Oh yeah, okay, but let me continue to ask my questions." To you, person who doesn't know it.
It's his favorite thing to do.
God damn it. I'm having a hard time understanding the party person. Yeah, she didn't say much. She just basically offered a number to call back. I also love that her voice is so muddled that the subtitles were not even popping up. I put on the subtitles hoping that if there was if it was distorted, we could at least read what she was saying. But that was a mess. They really didn't think about editing this phone call for time. I don't understand half their editing decisions. Let's be real.
Lisa showed me a link that the party had passed on. It was, I can't remember the exact name, but it was basically a mental health crisis phone line to phone.
I appreciate your call, and I'm getting another call in now. Chelsea's phone number, and I can text it to you if you do not have it.
Oh, if you could, I'd really appreciate that.
Chelsea is the communications person. I'd be happy to send that to you.
Okay, thank you, and I'll reach out to... Is it Chelsea, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, then. All right.
Great. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Like, even like what you were pointing out there about like the weirdness of like not even editing the audio of this phone call, there's the added layer of like, did we need the banter there back and forth about like, oh, so Chelsea's the one I can reach? Okay, thank you. And then you got to keep the dial tone in as the call like hangs up. Like, why any of these decisions?
So with that, throughout the day, when they kept on saying they had my back, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so, the tone started to change.
And what got to them? Was it the media
What got to them?
requesting interviews? I mean,
It was them.
unfortunately, we have seen Mr. O'Toole flip-flop vaccine passports, the gun ban, what have you. It seems that, to me at least, a slight amount of pressure can make him do a 180. Was that what was behind the lack of support?
I would think that's exactly what was behind the lack of support. It was either that or it was because I was a female. I can't be sure yet because it was actually the same Liberal candidate that is out in the Durham region also tried to call out the Conservative candidate in Durham because for racist comments that were done back in university as well. But the Conservative candidate there, he admitted to it, and he didn't get asked to have a suspension or...
Well, like, notice the two different parts of this scenario. Now, like, I'm not familiar with the Durham candidate or what she's referring to. But, like, if someone was like, I was younger, I didn't know better, I've changed, those were mistakes, you know, you could imagine some sort of scenario. Her stuff was made only a couple years ago when she was already running for a different position. And she's claiming that they were fraudulently made up. So, one, not taking responsibility. Two, you would have made them when you were older. It's a little different. Menzies' mic flag is about to fall off. He's just too dialed into interviewing this race. I did not even notice that, but you're right. It's just sliding off.
anything else or step down. So with me, going back to me now,
Going
throughout
back to
the
me
afternoon, when the tone started to change, they said, Lisa, we're going to have to make a decision here. I think maybe we should suspend your campaign. Are you willing to do that?
What does that mean, suspend? That means end it, I assume, given that the election's less than a week away.
That's exactly how I took it as well. And I said, what does this mean to suspend? And they said, well, you know, you can't do your literature, you can't knock on doors, you can't basically do anything. And I said to them, I said, well, what happens to, you know, being innocent until you're proven guilty? Why is this happening? And they didn't have an answer for me. And then, again, after that, they said, well, we have to protect our leader. And
Well, so the protect our leader bit aside, I mean, like, how do you could easily go, here's why we know these tweets are falsified. Right? Habeas corpus, but for tweets. Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, all you need to do
If
is...
glove does not fit, you must acquit.
Like, I've seen people prove various tweets being, like, falsified in various ways. Like, I couldn't have tweeted it because the profile picture doesn't match the one that I had, or, like, whatever, right? But here, it's like, clearly when she was running, people got those, running back in 2017, people captured those tweets. How are they like, did you prove they were falsified back then? No, obviously not. It's resurfaced. And so you're just like going, oh, they're not real.
And that's what it comes down to. They said we have to protect the leader, and I am in a riding that for the last 2 decades has been predominantly red, so they're willing to pretty much throw me under the bus in order to protect what's going on. You know, I'm out here just to do good for the people. I've stand up for the people all the time, as you can see, like, you know, calling out the regional councillors for going away. That is what I do. And that is my strength is, like, you know, always being on the side of right.
I'm just so perfect.
You know, I don't do
never been
smear
wrong.
campaigns. And when this first came out, I said, I had a lot of people asking me, do you want me to start doing some digging and see what we can find on them? And I said no. I said I am not going to stoop down to their level. But
Yeah, but if the person is like setting out as racist, if the person is retweeting neo-Nazis, maybe that's worth going negative campaign on them. I don't know. I'm against negative campaigning. That's why my opponent, who's a neo-Nazi, I was like, let's just let him be a neo-Nazi. I'm not going to negatively attack him based on his neo-Nazi views. No, I'm sorry. Maybe certain things you should go negative on.
this is what the Liberals do. I mean, they're doing it all across, as you know, and this is the way that they win. Unfortunately, people don't see it, and when people do speak up about it, all of a sudden, you're a conspiracy theorist, or, they start calling you out, because nobody is allowed to have their own opinion anymore. Nobody has a discussion. They just automatically start censoring you and push you out the door.
Is it with these people, honestly? What is
Anything she just said.
this, like, fucking? I can't believe that they got mad I was being racist. I don't understand. What are the rules?
I want to listen to that again. There was so much there. Well, there was the stuff about being negative. Yeah, no, I don't want any of that. Yeah, people don't see it, and when people speak up about it, all of a sudden you're a conspiracy theory. Speak up about what? About other people running negative campaigns? Because that's what preceded her saying that. So like, I'm just like,
Unfortunately, people don't see it, and when people do speak up about it, all of a sudden, you're a conspiracy theorist.
like you're not a conspiracy theorist for pointing out that their campaign went negative. Their campaign went negative, but they went negative because you were retweeting neo-Nazis. Ah! Oh my god.
Or, they start calling you out, because nobody is allowed to have their own opinion anymore. Nobody has a discussion. They just automatically start censoring you and push you out the door.
Yeah, again, because because your opinion is that like retweeting neo-Nazis.
Well, Lisa, I want to thank you for your time. I'm so sorry this has happened to
Look at
you.
how
And
deferential David is.
Aaron O'Toole, I'm reaching out to you. 13 months ago, you had all the time in the world for me. You attended the Independent Press Gallery leadership debate when you were vying to be the leader. Mr. O'Toole, do you think part of the
Oh my god, David made it about himself. Oh, why are you neglecting me, Aaron O'Toole?
So sorry this has happened to you. And Aaron O'Toole, I'm reaching out to you. 13 months ago, you had all the time in the world for me.
Look at her face.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Oh my god. They're such clowns, all of them.
You attended the Independent Press Gallery leadership debate when you were vying to be the leader.
Please
Mr. O'Toole, do you think part of the problem when we look back with the hindsight of 2020 is that we have an increasingly left of center media in Canada right now that is increasingly being funded by the federal government, $1.5 billion for the CBC each year?
But I've also said I'm going to defund CBC television, English and digital. It's time to shake up the landscape. It's also why I support the Independent Press Gallery as well.
Now it's a different tune, I understand that, but I hope you have the courage to answer these questions. I hope you believe Canada is a country in which you are innocent until proven guilty, as opposed to vice versa. I think this is a terrible story, what's happened to Lisa Robinson. I'm going to reach out to you, your war room. Hopefully you'll have the decency and the courage to give us an answer, because there's a lot of unanswered questions, I think, when it comes to this particular sordid story. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzoid.
Well, David, you'd be wrong. The evidence is the archived tweets. So there you go. No, she's proving guilty. There you go.
I love
we're done here, right?
I do love, let's just reflect on the fact that they showed the tweets in what we just watched. They showed the evidence of what she did.
They always fucking do that. They always show what makes them wrong, as if Oh my god. I can't.
Everything about that was incredible. My God. And like the whole like innocent until I thought we lived in a society where we're innocent until proven guilty. Like I didn't know
Well,
we
that's
were
the part.
sentencing her to the gulag at this point.
Hello, my rebels. Hello, my rebels. I'm a good boy. I'm a weirdo.